Retirement planning often sits on the back burner and a lot of the time doesn't take priority until most people are nearing retirement age. Alex, I feel like you picked on me when you wrote this script. Is this for me specifically? If you haven't saved enough for retirement, my next guest says, don't press the panic button just yet. Dilys DeCruz is the Vice President of Wealth at Meridia Credit Union. Welcome back to the show, Dilys.
Great to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. So some interesting stats here. About half of Canadians over the age of 50 are worried about not having enough money saved to fund their retirement. I'm putting my hand way up on this one. An equal number don't have a financial plan. My hand also goes up.
Yeah.
And 47% of those age 50 plus believe there is a serious risk that they could outlift their retirement savings.
Is your hand going up?
Oh, it's like, can I put both hands up? I'm on a roller coaster here. People may be afraid that they don't have enough money, but in reality, they may not even know the true answer, right?
Right.
Okay. So what are some tips to avoid anxiety over planning for retirement late in the game?
Right. So it is anxiety inducing, isn't it? Yeah.
A little bit.
So, I always talk about this life happens. And so, quite often you think back, you get out of school, you get married, you buy a house, you have children, maybe not in that order, but it all happens. And all of a sudden, you've put your children to school and one day you wake up, and you may have gone through divorce through that, and you wake up and you say, oh my God, I'm 50-ish and I don't have enough money. And so that is way more common. As you can see through the stats, half of Canadians are feeling that way. And so that can be it induces so much anxiety. And I'm here to kind of say don't panic. It's actually a good thing that you've woken up and realized that because you still have 21 years left. 21 years left to contribute. Now, you might need to push out your retirement. And so I want to talk a bit about that. But, just kind of... People are working later and later in life. About 40% of Canadians now are working between ages of 65 and 69. So there are always options. But it's, at age 50, if you've woken up and you said, I don't have enough, let's talk about a plan. And so the first thing is to assess, where are you really financially? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes and I know it seems a little strange, but sometimes we don't necessarily know what we have. And so if we've had past employers, we might have had locked in RSPs. We might even be in a plan at work that we don't know. And so it's really good to sit down and financially assess, where am I? What do I really have? And where am I from a debt position, a cash flow position, and what's my true situation? Now, that can be so overwhelming. So I highly suggest the minute you've kind of had that aha moment, that epiphany, is to find an advisor that you can go in and just say, I am not feeling confident in where I'm at, and this is what I have. And so they will ask you the right questions. They will probe and really kind of get a better sense of what your financial situation is. So it might be better than you think. I'm just saying it might even be better.
it might be worse.
And so the thing is that they will then help you get on a plan. And so before you get on a plan, what they will do, and it will be really good self-reflection, is to say, what does retirement mean for me? Mm-hmm. And everybody has a different version. So when you look at all the commercials, I always see all these commercials and you see, people sailing around the world and, these big elaborate, retirements. That may not be what it is for you.
I think you bring up a good point there because, I always thought about retirement and it would cause anxiety in me. Mm-hmm. Not the money.
Yeah.
What it caused me anxiety was the not working.
Right.
Because I want to work.
Yeah.
I can't imagine ever not working or contributing or doing something. Yeah. So I think when you realize, okay, I obviously don't want to work as hard,
right,
or I want to have a bunch of mini vacations, or sort of establishing what you want your retirement to look like, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're not working.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought that up too, because somebody was asking me, so are you going to retire at 65? I go, I don't think so. But I might be doing something else. I'm an executive coach. I think I'd love to coach people, at later stage in my life, and so and the stats are showing that people are from 65 to to 69. People are younger now, and I would feel that anxiety too. I think I get a little bored. So you have to really reflect and say, will I be working? What does it look like for me? And understand what that means for you. And then once you've kind of landed there, when you go into an advisor, they will then say, okay, so how much do you think you need for that lifestyle? And probably your first 10 to 15 years might be a little bit more expensive, and just you'll probably do more, you'll probably travel more, and then it might taper off a bit. And so once you sit down, you've kind of evaluated what you want. An advisor will sit down and you'll crunch some numbers with an advisor, and they will say, this is how much you need. So now they're going to do a work back. If you want to retire at 65, or if you want to retire at 69, or whatever that number is, they'll do a work back to where you are now and say, this is what you need to save. And then they will factor in a rate of return.
I love this, by the way, because I use this to apply for all things in life. Yeah. Start with the end result and work your way back.
Right? What outcome do you want? Right. And so that's what they'll do. And then when you see the number, you go either, right? Or you say, I can do that. And if it isn't overwhelming, then maybe you scale about what your expectation is. Or maybe you say, I'm going to work longer. I'm going to have a side job. I'm going to do something. And so there's all these options. But once you know what that outcome is, they put you on a plan. They look at your situation. Even if you're in debt, how can we now, look at putting you on a plan? And now you know what your outcome's going to be. Right. The other piece of it is, and I don't want to say, you have CPP and OAS above that. You can't live on that. But you have that. If you have equity in your home, there's an opportunity to actually tap into that equity if it was really bad. So you're not going to be on the street. There's some options that over and above saving for your retirement that could be made open to you should you need to do that. Or maybe you downsize, right? So maybe you have equity in your home. And then you say, you know what, I don't need this big home when I retire, and I downsize and I take the equity out that way. So there's a bunch of things that you wouldn't have thought about. You can have this discussion. They can put options in front of you. And now that reduces anxiety because you've taken control.
Right. And you have somebody helping you, somebody in your corner.
Yeah. Right? It's the lack of control, everything in life, right? The lack of control causes the anxiety. And once you feel like, okay, I have someone in my corner, I totally love that, helping you, and I've taken control and I know what my outcomes are going to be, it brings a sense of relief. It brings a sense of optimism. And you just say, I'm on a plan. I know I can get there.
Right. So you have create a pre and post retirement budget, right? So pre-budget, are we eliminating fun, or are we? I'm curious.
Well, it depends on what fun is, right? So I think there's the pre-budget is a good proxy to say, could I live this life in retirement? And so the pre-retirement could be 2 years before you retire. 2 to 3 years. This is what I envision my life to be, and I'm going to live it. So, I think you have to continue having fun. It's just, what is that fun for you, right? And so, and if it's going to cost a lot of money, then you're just going to have to save up. But I think if you kind of practice what that might look like and feel like, you probably would end up spending less, though. If you think about it, when you're working day to day, you're spending money on a lot more things and entertainment and food and all sorts of things. It might look and feel different.
Well, this is where an advisor might, point out to you and say, well, do you really need Starbucks every day?
That's an obvious one.
Right, but sometimes we're so thick in it that we can't be above it to see, which is where it's so helpful to have somebody talking to you and sort of pointing out the things that may be obvious, but you're not getting, right?
Yeah, and you bring up the Starbucks, and we always bring up the Starbucks. But the thing is, if you had it every day, it's at least $5 a day. Let's say you cut out one, right? That's $20 a month that you could just throw into savings. Like, just think about how you could just start saving easy cash, right? And so imagine if you cut out 5 days a week. Are you eating out lunch every single day? Can you cut out a few days a week? And so when you start, and this is just even on, getting your whole financial, life in order, right? If you're sitting with a lot of debt, these are the little things that you can cut out. And then I like to talk about, automatic savings, right? Every time you go on debit, have $1 or $2 go into, your vacation fund. That's what I actually do. I have several savings accounts, and I have, $1 comes out every time I debit, and it goes into these accounts. I don't even feel it. Right. I do pre-authorized payments, just so every paycheck, X amount is going to go to a savings account. So I don't feel it, right? And then the other piece is that, I always encourage it. If your employer has the ability for you to contribute directly to an RSP, definitely use that, So these are all things, you're 50, maybe you haven't taken advantage of your employer's RSP program, taking it right off your paycheck. There's a lot of painless ways to save as well.
I would love to do one with you on a show in the future about self-employed.
Right.
Because I think
yes.
that's a completely different scenario.
Yes.
Where you have to be in charge of that too.
Right.
So there's a lot.
And there's a lot of great tips for self-employed as well too,
Right.
right? And again, it's this painless way. How do you do it? How do you get into a group RSP?
Right.
A lot of programs as well on that. But I think at the end of the day, I think waking up and realizing that, I think it's a good thing, right? That
Right.
you think, okay, I need to take control, and going in and seeing an advisor, you're not by yourself. You're not on your own, and know that you have somebody to support you. And again, if your advisor is not making you feel good and not giving you that sense of confidence, find a new advisor. Find a new advisor. You don't have to stick with somebody who's not working with you and making you feel, confident in your future.
Amazing. Okay, so where can people go to get more information?
Yeah, check out our website, meridiancu.ca. Type in your location. You can find a branch or advisor near you.